Hello and a very warm welcome to We the People. It seems to have been a week of unprecedented hostility, personal political hostility between Manmohan Singh's UPA government and the opposition. The Prime Minister has often been attacked directly as part of the opposition campaign, being called a weak and invisible and ineffective Prime Minister. On its part, the government has been accused of being guilty of political vendetta, reopening several old cases against NDA leaders. All this at a time, of course, when Parliament has come to a crunching halt because of the opposition's decision to boycott it. All right, let's get Panda in now. What we've not addressed really at the core of it is what many believe to be a personalized attack. It's rare for the Prime Minister to be called, the Prime Minister of a country, to be called weak and invisible and not doing enough. As a member of the NDA, are you satisfied with the tenor that this debate seems to have taken, or does it make you uncomfortable?
Of course not. Of course it makes me uncomfortable. But first of all, I'd like to remind you of an old saying about parliamentary democracy, which is that the opposition must have its say because the government, having the numbers, will ultimately have its way. Now, what's been happening over the course of the last several sessions since the last 1 year is that every time we try to raise an issue, particularly concerning this particular minister, we are shouted down by a group of within the UPA. Now, shouting down the opposition in Parliament is the equivalent of cutting off our oxygen. Now, obviously, we would much rather raise these issues in Parliament and force the government to acknowledge these serious issues of corruption and other issues. But if we are not allowed to do that, you see, generally, I think we've not been very good in communicating to the media and to the people as to where the wrong lies, because there is a general perception that we have caused this disruption in Parliament. But hardly anybody seems to focus in that the vast majority of the time...
So you're saying it's the RJD MPs who stop you from addressing the issue? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is, you listen to the Prime Minister coming on the media and
But then why attack the Prime Minister? It still doesn't answer why attack the Prime Minister personally.
I'll tell you why. Because he doesn't seem to have control. Because behind the scenes, when the Business Advisory Council meets to decide on the agenda of the day, their floor managers repeatedly throw their hands up in the air and say, don't ask us to control our allies. Now, our answer to that is, the UPA is one coalition that we deal with. We cannot distinguish between various components of the UPA whom they can control and can't control in Parliament.
What example are we setting for a younger generation? When we learn in the political science book, we talk about the advantages that an opposition have in a democracy. But here we see the disadvantages that a democracy has.
What about the issues of tainted ministers? You don't think that's there's a concern, an issue to be concerned with?
There has been no government till now which did not have tainted ministers. Instead of looking at the small little speck in, the big log in your eye, you're looking at the speck in somebody else's eye. And this is a reason, just for
Isn't that the opposition's job to highlight those issues?
But they're making a big issue in such a way that they come to a standstill. Nothing seems to be happening.
All right, Jay, I found this point quite interesting, that Parliament's proceedings are now televised live. So let people see RJD MPs, shouting the House down, and no one disputes the fact that they often do that. We see that.
That has been happening for several months now. And I don't agree with the lady, because what was happening was Parliament was descending into a brawl-like situation, like a fish market, like somebody else was saying. I don't subscribe to the theory that that's what we should encourage. I think what we are doing is a dignified and a somewhat Gandhian way of registering our protest.
It's your satyagraha.
It is.
No.
It is.
People are cynical. Nija, people are cynical.
You see, because if we are shouted down by the opposition, we have backbenchers who are not going to take it lying down. And it descends into chaos, which is not what we want to promote.
The thing is that...
And who have in fact not taken it lying down.
All right. Now the thing is, in 2005, people are too cynical to believe that any politician of any party is Gandhian. It's sad, but that's just public perception. On this thing of the political stalemate, you were trying to get a word, Nirja George.
No, I wanted to make 2 points. The difference that between then, in the past, and now. You see, one difference is that in the earlier period, whenever there was an impasse when the government did not listen to the opposition wanted a discussion on a certain subject or under a certain rule. Now what do you have? You have the Prime Minister ringing up leaders of the opposition, imploring them, please come back to the House. We are ready to have a discussion on any subject that you want. That's number one difference that I noticed. The other is...
You want to intervene in there?
May I just have one word here? You see, this is the success of propaganda and disinformation. I keep telling people here that what we see behind the scenes is the Prime Minister's colleagues doing exactly the opposite of what the Prime Minister says. Now, just once I want the Prime Minister in public to give us an assurance that when we are allotted time to speak, he will control his associates and not let them shout us
Why
down.
are you laughing, Mr.
My question is that the tainted ministers, whosoever is there in the cabinet of the UPA government, they should go. But by the rocking the proceedings of the House, will this going to help? Is it going to help? Because people have elected the representative and they are there to function.
Okay,
and as a
so you think tainted ministers
should go.
Yeah.
But as a constructive opposition, they must allow the House to function as the way it should be.
There's one more question here.
What my question is, what is the leadership? Where are the leaders today? Why can't they sit behind the scene and just sort it out? Why they're bringing the things into public in such a manner which is lowering the respect of the parliament?
Now, Mr. Digvijay Singh, are you going to call the gentleman sitting next to you naive as well? Because, I mean, really, that is the point, that why has it become so vicious? And that's the point that the BJP will have to answer as well. Why attack the Prime Minister? Attack the RJD ministers that you believe are tainted ministers? Why attack the Prime Minister? First you and then Mr. Prasad and then to the other side.
You see, Honorable Prime Minister has invited them to come and talk to them.
Yes.
To smoothen the process of breaking this unfortunate tangle. But what is the response? Someone has said something, the other said something. What is the issue? I think these people are not above the Prime Minister. If the Prime Minister had invited few people that you should come and participate, let us debate. No one is stopping Mr. Advani to give a statement or to participate. No one is. Then other thing, I strongly object to what the Honorable TDP member has said about the presiding officer.
Yeah.
We have two most eminent politicians of this country, Mr. Somnath Chatterjee and Mr. Bhairav Singh Shekhawat, who are chairing the, I think they have performed exceedingly well.
First of all, let me make it clear. We don't need the Prime Minister's or the Treasury bench's invitation to go back to Parliament. We have the people's mandate to go to Parliament. Yeah. What we want is an assurance that they will abide by parliamentary norms, which they have not been.
All right.
And Digvijay Singh ji, who is a very senior and respected leader of the ruling coalition, called me naive in expecting that the Prime Minister should give this assurance. I don't think so. And I think to take that approach is very cynical. I don't think there's anything naive about expecting that the leader of the government says that he will stand by parliamentary norms.
All right, let's come to the